What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Joined by my two boys, Mangone, DC. Talking a little NBA. We got 5 games today. Good amount of injury news, so it'll be a pretty fun slate. Always good prize pools. Running a little late because the boys' college basketball show right before. BigT, Kurt, Steve Boynton, Holden. If you didn't check that out, make sure you go check that out. You can watch it on 1.5x. Get caught up. Some good games tonight. March Madness still going on. So make sure you check out that show. The boys did a very good job. We're talking some hoops, though. You guys already crushing the like button in chat before we got going, so we appreciate that. DC, I'm going to send it over to you. I talked to Mangone on Tuesday. Haven't talked to you since you got home safely. Your tweet made me laugh, talking about you waking up sober, and it was the best thing in the world, I imagine. How's it going over there?
Things are good, man. I finally got back out on the running trail this morning, though. Let me tell you, I felt every one of those 150 high noons. Every goddamn step I took, about an hour of pain I had to suffer through. Tomorrow will be better, but getting back into the normal flow of things. We got spring training baseball, which I'm probably the only nerd interested in that, but I am. Which 2 weeks now, opening day. So excited for that, and of course. The NBA rolls on, approaching the playoffs. I think we're all excited for some playoff basketball. It's a long season for the players, for analysts, and you can tell for teams too, with all the guys just sitting out and kind of mailing it home. But we're not mailing it home here. We'll get winners. Doesn't matter who's playing, as long as you pick the right ones and get those guys in your lineups. We'll get to the winner's circle. So excited to talk some hoops with you guys.
Yeah, it's about Deer District season. I'm very excited for that. The playoffs should be fun. Spring training baseball. Yeah, I don't think Mangone and I will talk spring training baseball with you, but that's why you're the baseball guy over here. 2 weeks, man. It's going to come up fast. See some new trades going. Excited for the baseball season. Day baseball is always fun. We always talk about it. One price, all the sports. College basketball going on, MMA, NASCAR, golf, baseball coming up, NBA playoffs. If you're not a member, head over on Peer Sports, check it out. And yeah, all 150 of those high noons. I might even take the over on the 150 DC. But I can only imagine.
Well, it wasn't all high noons. I mixed in a White Claw now and then, and occasionally a screwdriver. So maybe it stuck under 150 because of those.
Yeah, I can only imagine how that run felt. But
brutal.
Yeah, Mangone, I'll head over to you. How's your day going? You got to be in the college basketball streets. Are you in the NHL streets today? Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, just college basketball for me. Nothing else too crazy. That and NBA, obviously. And DC, I haven't gotten back to the gym yet. It's been enjoyable. So I got to get back in at some point, though, because it's starting to wear on me. I'm eating really unhealthy. So I got to maybe get on a trail with DC and get Coach out there to get me back to the gym.
By the way, Vanko, did you see the Jimmy Butler Haslam video?
Yeah.
For people that have seen that video and were wondering, the Coach DC thing, it was kind of me being Haslam to you, Jimmy Butler. Like, get your ass going. Let's go here. It reminded me a little bit of that for anyone that was wondering how it all went down.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very helpful stuff. I took it the other way. Jimmy took it, the hard feelings. I took it as motivation. That's what you got to do. Just go out there and bang a three and then just stare down Haslam. That's actually
you're not soft like Jimmy Butler.
No, it can't be soft like him.
Yeah, that was something. The Miami Heat are falling, it looks like. I never was a believer for them in the playoffs. The East is so loaded, but hey, I mean, it's not looking good over there, that's for sure. Should be a lot of fun, though. Yeah, man, so college basketball streets, do you have a play of the day? You've already had to dive in and stuff like that. I was listening to Kurt, Steve, all them give the plays of the day. People, a lot of them came from the college basketball show over here. Do you have a little play of the day you can give the people before we dive into some NBA?
I mean, probably not. I definitely listen to the show for sure. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at my script right now to see what I have that's a little unique that I can give out. But I mean, I'm loading up on that Zags Arkansas game. I'm just kind of fading some stuff up and calling it a day. I found that my unique way to do it, I think, was I made sure when I ran stuff earlier, there was a ton of Arkansas on teams, right? Just so much. I saw 4 or 5. I made it where I just did a minimum of 3, and then I have a max of at least a minimum of 1 Gonzaga guy and a max of 3 Arkansas guys. That way, I'm also mixing exposure to Arizona and Texas Tech, where when I was running stuff earlier, there was 4 or 5 Arkansas guys on teams, which it was just kind of seemed wild to me. So I was okay, let me readjust this a little bit and then just kind of go from there. So that's kind of the way that I did it. And I'm hoping it gets me to the winner circle. Like I said, the first one I ran, I just pulled up now, 5 Arkansas guys on that one. Next one, 5 Arkansas guys. again, I get it. Like Arkansas is a good play. Next one had 4 Arkansas guys, but it's just a small way to be a little bit different. Get me exposure to some other guys, mix and match, and call it a day.
There you go. A little quick breakdown from Mangone in the college basketball streets for the people. And DC, before we get into basketball, I see someone in chat. Bart asks, DC, you bought that MVS jersey yet? Talk about the Chiefs a little bit. Tyreek, MVS, let the people know your thoughts.
What a blow to the Chiefs, man. How can you let Tyreek get away? Like,
I feel the same way. How can you let Devontae get away? Hey, it's tough out there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go the other way on you. I'm fine with them getting rid of Tyreek to do what they did because I think long term it's gonna help them a lot.
No, I mean, maybe Travis Kelce's probably only got a couple years left, right? I mean, I think he's like 32, 33. The age comes quick in the NFL. So to me, I just don't think they can really compete, with the Bills and the other great teams in the AFC without Tyreek Hill. It's not just the production you lose from Hill. He impacts every play, whether or not he gets the ball thrown to him or not, right? Like you have to respect his deep ball speed, him in motion, moves the defense all over the place. MVS is not going to do that. I haven't looked at the numbers. I mean, it's not football season, but I assume Patrick Mahomes becomes much less efficient when Tyreek Hill is off the field. I think it's going to have a very bad effect on the Chiefs offense, but they still got Patrick Mahomes, and hopefully they'll draft a wide receiver, right? A burner, and he can replace some of what Hill does. But Tyreek is a unique player, right? There's only one Tyreek Hill out there, and it's going to be a blow to him. It'll be interesting to see how he does with the Dolphins because Tua, not the strongest arm there. I saw a tweet today. They're going to use him, Tyreek Hill, like Deebo Samuel was they were saying, which. That could be interesting, right? If you're getting the ball if you're getting 12, 13 touches a game to Tyreek Hill, that would be, fun for DFS for sure. See if he could hold up in that role. He's a pretty small dude. It could be tough, but will be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, right when I saw like Tyreek to the Dolphins, I'm like, Tua, wait, he's not throwing it 70 yards down the field and hit you in stride like Patrick Mahomes can. No. It'll be very interesting. MVS, hey, he'll get behind the defense for you plenty. He won't catch the ball most of the time when he's down there, though. That's the thing.
You're not going to miss MVS too bad, huh? You're not.
I mean, you can put it right in his arms, but it might not always be caught. So no, I'm not very sad about that. But hey, you guys saw Juju still on the Chiefs. It'll be interesting. The NFL definitely.
Juju may have a big year if he's healthy. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you guys paid a lot for MVS, but I'm sure it's like fake money where like if it doesn't work out, you can get rid of him. So I don't think it's like the end of the world. The 3 years, 10 million each year, but 10 million each year for MVS feels very expensive. I will say that.
I mean, every single year, I feel like the money is just getting more and more crazy for some of these guys getting paid. But that's just how the world's going nowadays. That's enough football though. Before actually, I will bring up because of football and baseball, Underdog is running a promo. It's a promo code RUNPEER. You get $100 deposit matching bonus for your first payment. You got baseball, best ball going on. Heard it's really, really soft over there. Wouldn't expect anything less. They have a super flex for NFL right now where there's 2 quarterbacks, it's a new format. So people don't really know how to adjust. There's always an edge. And we have an NFL or best ball in Discord, a best ball chat where you can drop questions. You can tag one of us. I haven't dove into any drafts yet, but I always max all the NFL ones. DC's been in the baseball ones a little bit too, doing a bunch of drafts. So if you head over to best ball and you haven't made a deposit yet, $100, use the promo code RUNPEER and they'll match it. So make sure you check that out. But that's enough of that. Steve Boynton, he said that was a good breakdown too on college basketball, Mangone. So giving the people all the winners, talking all the sports. That's enough of that though. We're going to get into basketball. We got 5 games. They lock at what? First game, 7:30 Eastern. Then the next 3 games lock at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then we have 1 game at 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's kind of how the slate breakdown goes. Before we get in the games, though, hit the like button, hit that big red subscribe button in the bottom right corner. And we appreciate it a lot, and it helps us out. So enough of all that. First game on the slate, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Toronto Raptors. We got a 215 total. Toronto is favored by 5. Going to the injury report. For the Toronto side, Gary Trent and OG Anunoby are questionable. It sounds like they're more doubtful than questionable, but it still says questionable right now. We are going to get this news before lock, whether it's on this show, whether it's on the Up to Lock show, but pretty big news if one of them or both of them are in. If they're out, that'll be interesting. Malachi Flynn is also out. Going to the Cleveland Cavaliers side, Dean Wade, Rondo, Sexton, Jarrett Allen are still out. So Rondo's the only one that is kind of new. Mangone, I'll head over to you. Obviously, this Raptors news is pretty important. You were talking a little pre-show about Siakam and other stuff. So just discuss this Raptors and Cavs game.
Yeah, the reason why I've looked kind of deep at the Raptors is like, I talk about this a lot. Like sometimes I think one of like the smartest things you can do on a slate is look for a point that you just have to fade one thing. And then that way you're just like, you're contrarian instantly from that one fade. That's it. You don't have to change anything else. If you fade the 80% guy, like you'll be fine. I'm not saying Jokic is going to be 80% today, but Jokic is on almost every single optimal right now. And on top of that, he is the only spend up option if you look at this slate. Just to kind of give you like a quick slate overview before we dive in, because this is kind of in tournaments what I'm thinking about, what I'm trying to decide. When I look at Jokic today, just the spend ups, right? It's Jokic, and then who do we have after that? Garland, 9-7, Booker, 9-3. Like those guys are not above that 10K range, where if anyone ever has a team that just has a bunch of value, which there's a lot of value on this slate, and then you just fill it out with the last piece. Well, it's going to be filled out with who? It's going to be filled out with Jokic. There's no one else to fill it out with unless you want a 0 from Giannis. It's just not possible. So much ownership is going to be on Jokic on this slate. That's why I'm trying to figure out who is the stud that's not popping in optimals right now. Well, currently Pascal Siakam is not. I also believe if you get the news that like a Trent is out or Trent and OG are out, I think Pascal probably does pop up a little bit still in optimals. I'm wondering how much he does compared to some of these other options. That's the thing I'm trying to look at. So that's kind of one of my big debates on this slate. He's only 8.5K. I do think Pascal Siakam has not been as great in these spots, and people have been pretty frustrated by it. And I think like a lot of people have fatigue from it, and they just might write it off the projection, be like, it's fine. I'd rather just get the spend up on Jokic instead. Also, there's a chance maybe he pops in there and then some other guys don't pop up as much. Maybe like the Levines. He might be a guy that ends up getting kicked out. So that's what I'm kind of eyeing up on this slate. And that's why I think Siakam is a guy that is going to be a key guy that I'm looking at. And also, if you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, ever since they lost Jarrett Allen, this has been a team that you can beat up down low. I'm not scared of this team. So I think that this is definitely a good spot for a guy like a Siakam. On top of that, you can do a run back with a Darius Garland at 9-7, who feels really pricey. I totally understand. It seems like a lot, but last game, he played the entire second half. He did not take a break. 41 minutes, 41, 45 last 3 games. Maybe one of those was OT, but the point I'm getting at is we are at the time of year where teams need to win. They are going to grind their guys out. They are going to play. Like Cleveland is in the 6th spot. They don't want to fall into a playing game. They want to lock themselves into a series. Also, wouldn't be bad to find yourself at the 4 or 5 spot. If you can somehow run into the Bulls. I wouldn't want to run into the Celtics personally. I know that they're climbing though. So the point I'm getting at is there's some really nice incentive for the Cavaliers to win games. Same with Toronto. They're in that playing spot. So you are going to see tight minutes from these teams. I also expect this game to be close. It's a 5-point spread. We have a 9-point spread with the Bucks. We have an 11.5-point spread with the Grizzlies. There are games that can blow out. So I think the point I'm getting at with this game is I think it's a really good one from a DFS perspective because the minutes are really tight on some players. And I think there's some contrarian pieces throughout the game. Again, that news is really, really important because if those guys are out, like Scotty Barnes at 7.6, that feels like a very expensive price tag. But I do think people will not put Scotty Barnes in their lineups as much as they should. If you look at this slate as a whole, Justin Anderson, he's a chalk play that we'll talk about. A forward. Bobby Portis, a chalk play, a forward. These forwards are just naturally going to go under-owned, in my opinion. Chris Boucher at 5K, he could have a massive ceiling here in this spot. We saw him the other day. He got that nice run where he got 39 fantasy points in 33 minutes. The blowout definitely helped him, but sometimes he closes games out. And Cleveland, at times, they like to play big too. So this could be a really good Boucher spot. So these forwards on Toronto and this news is way more valuable to me than I think some other people are realizing. I know the Pacers news is really important, and that can just flip the slate instantly. But I think that this could be really big news on this Toronto side that people are overlooking.
Yeah, very, very good breakdown. And if you look at we always talk about the Toronto minutes, how stable they are. Like Siakam plays all the minutes in the world. Look at the other side. Darius Garland's in the same boat, playing all the minutes in the world. He's shooting the ball a ton. The usage is there. People aren't going to pay 9-7 for him. It feels expensive. It really does. But for how much he's playing, how much he has the ball in his hands, close spread, it totally makes sense. I mean, he can go off for a 60, 65 piece. at 10% or whatever it's going to be and break the slate. So I think you made a lot of good points. You know, you're going to get the minutes on both sides. If if Trent are out, I think Siakam makes a lot of sense. I think Fred VanVleet can be interesting too. 8.2K, point guard, shooting guard eligible. DC, I'll go to you. Talk about the Toronto side. You've been high on the Cavs a lot of this year. You've been watching them and having a good feel for them. So talk about what you like on Cleveland too.
Yeah, Cleveland mostly going to be Garland for me. I mean, at this point, tough matchup, right? But Garland's a killer. I still think he's underrated. People see that 9.7 price tag, but he's been doing it all year. Doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. So if you want to get if you want to try to get away from Jokic, who's going to be very popular, you got to spend somewhere because there's value all over the place on this slate. And, you know, you have guys like Giannis ruled out. It's only a 5-game slate. So I think you'll get Garland at very, very low ownership if you wanted to go in that direction. Toronto, yeah. I mean, I think all their guys, especially if Trent and OG are out, are decent plays just because the minutes are definitely going to be there. Thing is, though, there's a lot of good plays, I think, on this slate for a 5-game slate. I mean, we'll get to the Memphis game, but I want to play like they're basically their entire rotation I want to put into my lineup, you know, there's like 7 Memphis guys that you could play. So we're not starving for value by any means. And I do lean more toward other games, obviously Milwaukee missing 2 studs. So I probably won't end up with much of this game, but I do think that'll be the same thing that everyone else does. Right. So if you can pick out the 2-3 guys from Cleveland, Toronto that are probably going to have big games, because there'll be a couple of them right there. You're kind of off to the races with this early game. I don't feel super confident in my ability to pick out which 2 it's going to be, so I'll probably go elsewhere. But it makes sense from a contrarian game theory point of view.
Absolutely. I'll go back to you, DC, quick. Joe said in chat, how about Mobley? Discuss on that. I agree that I think it's just Garland or bust for me on Cleveland, but we got a question. What are your thoughts?
He's had success against Toronto in the past. I mean, I think he can handle the bigs of Toronto, right? Like I don't like him when he has to go up against Embiid and play center against Embiid. That's just not going to work out for him. But he's not going to get posted up by the Toronto guys. So this does seem like a pretty good spot for him. He would be my second favorite Cav for sure.
Cool. I like it. And yeah, Rod in chat said fade the first game. Yeah, I mean, that's what most people are going to do is fade the first game. But like we're talking about it, if you're going to get a contrarian option, you like being on the contrarian side when you know a guy's going to play about 40 minutes, going to have the ball in his hands. You fall into shots. I mean, the ceiling is definitely there. So
yeah. The other thing is, like, what if news hits, right? Like you just can't say fade the first game easy. I think if news hits, like, this one could matter. And what if the news hits where these Pacers are in, right? Halliburton's in, Goga's in. That definitely can muddy up that you're not going to get all that value on the Pacers. Also, this is the second night of a back-to-back for the Pacers. The second night of back-to-back for the Grizzlies as well. But Grizzlies have been like one of the best teams in the league without Ja Morant. As crazy as that sounds. And this Pacers team, they just had their revenge game, right? I mean, this is a spot where you could see the Pacers really let down, where that game could blow out, that Memphis game, and it could just get like a little ugly. It could be one of those where not as many of those Memphis plays are on the winning lineup because of that. So it's definitely something to think about, because if a couple games just like are blowouts and you lose that whole fourth quarter rotation and there's bums in there, well, the problem is you don't get that full run. And if you fade a couple of those games, you're just sitting in like the most perfect spot on the slate.
Yeah, very good breakdown. And before we get to the next game, anytime K Fallick gives some plays in chat, I have to talk about it because he's been hot. He knows what he's talking about. He said, don't ignore Markkanen and Lamar Stevens. So you personally won't see them in my lineups, but anytime K Fallick says something, it's worth noting. They're both going to be very low owned. Markkanen, Lamar Stevens, 4K Fallick. And then someone else in chat.
Lamar Stevens minutes, I will call that out. 34 last game against the Lakers, which I was pretty shocked when I was looking at some of the stuff on Popcorn Machine on it. So his minutes are definitely up there right now.
I mean, he gets the shooting guard and small forward eligibility too. So definitely makes sense. I mean, it wasn't on my radar. K Fallick mentions it though in tournaments. You can look at Lamar Stevens or Markkanen a little bit. So appreciate that, K Fallick. Not sure. Said Kevin Love and GPP single entry too thin. In my opinion, it's too thin. I wouldn't be going there. I would rather go Markkanen since K Fallick likes it. But personally, I like the Siakam, the VanVleets, the Garlands, stuff like that more. Even maybe a Precious at 4-7, I don't mind either. Cleveland plays big. He'll get the minutes. He has some upside. But again, you don't have to go crazy on this game. The more pieces you add, the more contrarian you will be, since we do have some good spots in the next couple games. But We're going to head to the next game. We got 328 watching, 128 likes. Do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that big red subscribe button next to it as well. Next game on the slate, the Indiana Pacers, the Memphis Grizzlies, 235 total. Memphis is favored by 11.5. Going to the Memphis side, Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks, Brandon Clark, Killian Tilly, all are out today. So big news on Memphis. You go into the Pacers side, there's also big news over here. Brogdon is out. Isaiah Jackson is out. Chris Duarte is out. And then obviously Miles Turner, Rubio, McConnell, Warren, all of them are still out as well. Tyrese Halliburton and Goga are questionable too. So Tyrese, the biggest news on the slate. He's questionable. He played yesterday. If he's out, man, a lot of these guys would get even bigger bumps. We saw Kyle Anderson start yesterday for Memphis. I think he's interesting. There's Tyus Jones, DeAnthony Melton. I'm just going to go to you, DC. You mentioned this game earlier. There's so many options. So you take it away and break it down.
Yeah, I'll start with the Memphis side. You know, missing these guys. If you run the on-court, off-court numbers, you take Ja Morant off the court, you take Dylan Brooks off the court, Brandon Clark off the court. Like all these guys are popping. Like all these guys are. You don't see this all the time. But, I mean, Mangone kind of said it. Memphis. This is the second seed in the West, and they don't miss a beat when they're playing without Ja Morant. Like they continue to play really well. What is it, a 235 total, and they're favored by 12.5. So what's their team total? 123, something like that in this game.
Yep.
And these guys are all pretty cheap, right? It's Desmond Bane is the most expensive guy at 7K. I mean, I think a bunch of the Memphis guys are going to smash. A perfect matchup at home against Indiana. And I know, you know, sometimes you're like, are they playing for much? They're resting Ja Morant. Like, I think Ja Morant is probably legitimately kind of hurt because they're trying to hang on to this 2 seed. They're just 2 games ahead of the Warriors. It is a big deal. So I think Memphis will play well. Their starting 5, I think all are good plays. Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, Steven Adams is a good play. Jaren Jackson has big upside here. I think DeAnthony Melton could come off the bench. Even guys like Conchar, if you want to get away from a Justin Anderson on the other side, he's 3,100 and should get, I think, 25 or 30 minutes here. So, yeah, I'll have, I think, at least 3 Memphis guys, you know, assuming kind of the news that we have now holds up for the most part, probably every lineup. And I'm willing to play up to 4, probably hold it at 5. But, man, a lot of ways you can go here. And even like the Memphis big man situation, the Clark news is interesting. Because, you know, Steven Adams, like his minutes are the kind of the big concern, right? Sometimes he just loses minutes and you don't necessarily always see it coming. More likely to get them in this game. I do think we'll see Xavier Tillman back up Steven Adams on the second half of a back-to-back. He's 3,200, a good point per minute guy. And if Adams, you know, does get the 24 minutes, you could see Tillman out there for 24 minutes, super low owned at 3,200. He could put up 30 fantasy points. Wouldn't shock me at all. So very, very high on Memphis in this game. We'll see what Indiana does, right? They had the game against Sacramento yesterday. They lost by a point. Now they're resting Brogdon again. I wouldn't be shocked if Halliburton sat this one out, honestly. Wouldn't shock me. And that would change things, right? Because at that point, now you got Indiana with value all over the place. And you're looking at probably my plan anyway, frankly. Like if Halliburton plays, I'll play him. If not, load up on the other Indiana guards, Lance Stevenson, Buddy Hield, and you got a game stack on your hands. You throw Joker on the end of it, and that's a pretty good way to build a lineup if you want to go in that direction, which is certainly something that I'm interested in. So to me, this is the best game and the game I'll have most exposure to for sure.
Yeah, totally agree with all of that. The Tyrese Halliburton news obviously is really big because if he's in, I think he's a contrarian spend too, and he's not in.
I mean, we talked about title. Anytime Halliburton gets the lead ball handler role to himself, whether that was back on the Kings whenever Fox would be out, or whether it's on the Pacers when Brogdon is out like he is now, he produces, right? It almost never disappoints. And I wouldn't really, I know they're 12.5 point dogs, but I'm not super scared. I think Halliburton can produce in this matchup. I'm not super worried about it. So we'll see if he plays. If he does, I think he's a good play. If not, certainly other value opens up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he shot 4 for 14 yesterday and had 51 DK points. The peripheral stats is what you love to see, and with the floor and gets you a ceiling. If he's out, man, I love Terry Taylor. I always talk about him. He's power forward and center eligible, which is always weird. on DK. But Goga, if he plays, he's coming off a good game. If Tyrese is out, there's Dwayne Washington 3-1. Like I said, Justin Anderson's 3K. There's a lot of plays in this game, man, going. So talk about some of your favorites, if there's any phase that you're looking at. And then, yeah, people are talking about Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones is the best play, in my opinion, in this game right now. If Tyrese is out, it could be some of the Pacers, but he's going to be popular, obviously. Talk about this game, man, going.
Yeah, let's talk about this game. I kind of hope Tyrese Halliburton plays. The reason why I kind of hope he plays is if Halliburton plays, I think that the slate would change a ton. So that would frustrate me, and I have to like readjust, and who knows what I would like. But I would kind of like him to play because I think Desmond Bane, if you know, Desmond Bane is a little bit of a draft narrative guy. And, you know, Tyrese Halliburton was taking 12 and Desmond Bane was taking 30. I think that Desmond Bane, you don't have Dylan Brooks in there. So I think Desmond Bane is going to cover Halliburton a lot in this game. And if that's the case, I'm not saying Halliburton's getting locked up or anything, but Halliburton is definitely a combo guard that can shoot and pass. And I think he will have that willingness to pass. And I think it'll go to Buddy Hield. And Buddy Hield is a guy that is not just a guy they talked about. He's a stand in the corner guy. Everyone was joking about it because the Kings fans were saying, you never stood in the corner. You just chucked up shots all game and were terrible. But he does have handles. He can pass. He almost got a triple-double like this month. So I think Buddy Hield at 7-3 with Halliburton in is actually a really good play. And no one is going to be spending up at small forward right now. They're currently spending down for Justin Anderson, these other guys. It's just a simple contrarian build that I think is really smart in tournaments. And people might not go back to Buddy. They'll say, oh, he just had his ceiling game. Well, the thing is, he hasn't been as good lately because Malcolm Brogdon has been in, and they have been a lot more healthy in the recently. When he just got there with Halliburton is when they were in those 8-man rotations at first, and we saw him thrive a ton. 7-3.
Two of those guys smashed like every game. Like it was like 5-6 games in a row they went off.
That's why I want Halliburton in. I don't want Halliburton out because then I think Buddy really gains a lot of ownership for sure. Like I just don't see how he would.
I do agree with you. I don't think Buddy gets that big of a bump with Halliburton out. A little bit, right? It's fair to bump his projection a little bit in that case, but not as much as will be reflected in the ownership, because his ownership will soar if Halliburton's out. And I think not that he wouldn't be a bad play there, but like the gap in ownership for Buddy Hield, if Halliburton sits or if Halliburton plays, is wider than it should be. I agree with you there. I played Buddy Hield yesterday. He was super, super low owned. Went off. Like I talked about his minutes yesterday, that it was kind of fluky, 3 games in a row, blowouts, foul trouble. But yeah, I mean, and if Halliburton plays, I like playing those two guys together, frankly, because they're both going to need to have good games to keep this one close. I'm going to have a bunch of Memphis guys on the other side. I really like this game stack and hope it stays close and is high scoring like it's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm definitely in on Buddy Hield. Justin Anderson, good chalk play, definitely a good way to build out your lineups. So I think he's someone you definitely want to get exposure to. We need that Goga news. That does matter. If Goga happens to be out, well, that's going to open up some opportunities in the big man position, right? Brissett, Jalen Smith, they just don't have big men. I mean, their bigs would consist of Brissett. It consists of Jalen Smith and Terry Taylor, who's 6'5", and maybe Justin Anderson slides in at like the 4 at times, maybe. But the point I'm getting at is this will definitely be a spot where these guys will get run. The matchup isn't the easiest. That is worth mentioning, but good opportunity there for sure on this Pacers side. The news is going to be really important. If a Halliburton does miss, you have to like Washington. He's going to be a great 3.1K option. Only shooting guard eligible there. Memphis, though, we got to talk about them. Tyus Jones, 4-3, really good option. I don't see Desmond Bane popping that much right now, but Desmond Bane can definitely have a big game at that shooting guard position. So don't mind going to him. I do think Steven Adams at 5'8" is another option that people might not go to as much. It seems like Tyus Jones, DeAnthony Melton, Kyle Anderson, those are the guys that are like really popping. Jaren Jackson at 6'9", they're getting the ownership right now. Steven Adams at 5'8" is not going to get ownership. And we always like targeting big men against the Pacers. Always. It's something we've done for a while now. And if you look, Steven Adams, I talked about it a while ago. I know last game against Houston wasn't great for 21 fantasy points, but I did a show recently where I just rattled off all these great positions where they're going against traditional bigs and Steven Adams crushed them. I mean, Goga being in there, that is more of a traditional big. So you definitely have to like a Steven Adams in this spot at 5.8K. I think he's a really contrarian term option that you want to get exposure to. And I don't know what to do with Melton off the bench. I mean, Melton just had a game where he went absolutely nuts. I mean, if you were watching, he just went lights out from the 3-point line. It felt like he couldn't miss. He shot 6 for 10, but every time he touched the ball, it felt like it was in the hoop. So DeAnthony Melton is definitely a good play, but he is a very points dependent player. When you take those other guys off the court, Dylan Brooks and John Moran, he is going to have some more ball handling responsibilities. Also, no Brandon Clark, where he's a high usage guy off the bench as well. So I do think overall Melton is a good play at 5K, but I think there is bust potential compared to like Tyus Jones and like Kyle Anderson. We know he can always bust. So these Memphis values, I just don't think are as great of plays as everyone thinks. I think Tyus is the best one, but there's a lot of good plays overall on this slate. And I don't think Memphis is just like you slam in 3 or 4 today.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, DeAnthony Melton, I agree with you. I don't think the ownership's going to be too crazy, though. And if you look at his usage, 24, 27, then he had 10, 24, 33, 29. He's not going to be too highly owned. You can offer maybe if you don't play Tyus, you get some leverage that way a little bit. I think DeAnthony Melton's interesting. There's just so many good plays on this Memphis side. I mean, if Melton's hitting shots, he's going to get an extended run. He's going to get there. If he's missing shots, he's not going to get as much. But, man, you cannot ignore this game. This is definitely the premier game for DFS. It can only get better if Tyrese and Goga are out, too, loading up on the game. Obviously, we want them to play. But, yeah, very, very interesting game.
Tyler, real quick, one more guy that could get the run is like John Conchar could still run if he gets hot, right?
Yeah,
they're playing 150 lineups. Like, he's a super contrarian guy at 3.1K guard and forward eligible that, like, I think mixing throughout your lineups is not bad, and grouping him away from Melton. If you play Zaire Williams, I wouldn't, but I'd group him away from that. Like, even if, like, for instance, Jaren Jackson got into some foul trouble, you could see maybe a Conchar slide in at, like, the 3, and maybe they put Zaire at the 4. There's a lot of different things that you can see happen here for sure.
I like the direct pivot from Justin Anderson to Conchar. I assume you'll go from like the 40% owned Anderson to 5% owned Conchar. And I mean, they're similar players. One's going to start, but I mean, I think he almost has to play 25 plus minutes here. Anderson, if he's not having a good game, they have enough guys where he could, assuming Halliburton plays, he could play 25. It's not like he's some superstar, that's holding down minutes wherever he goes. So yeah, I do like that direct pivot. I think both small forward, right? So if you want to, you can get contrarian kind of right there, right off the bat with two scrubs.
Yeah, there's a lot of good plays in a lot of different tiers in this game. So will be very interesting. Ownership's always going to be concentrated. Don't be scared to make a little pivot because these guys are going to see the minutes. You just got to make some shots, fall into some rebounds. You definitely can get there at lower ownership. So talked about that game a lot, but it's an important one. So we had to spend some time on it. Before we get in the next game, we got to talk about the members never win segment because it was a very, very good week last week. Going to start in the MMA streets. Like I said, it's always tough reading your name first. What was a good night over here in MMA streets? Myself, Hoop had a $39,000 win as well. Tambo, the big $94,000 win in PGA. That was a very fun sweat. Congrats to Tambo. Earwig 214 won $8,000 in PGA. Mike B won $10,000 in League of Legends. Legit Mango, $20,000 in NASCAR. And then Pito got Flow, $39,000 in MMA. I mean, man, I'm reading League of Legends. I'm reading NASCAR. I'm reading NBA. There's so many sports over here that we got content for. Kurt was sweating EuroLeague last show. All the sports that DK and FanDuel offer, we have content over here. We always talk about it. One price, all the sports. Baseball's coming up in a couple weeks. No better time to join the movement. Head over to Run Pure Sports. Check it out. And there's a lot more winners than just that. I see screenshots all the time littered throughout Discord. So if you want to be on this segment, drop your screenshot in the members never win segment in Discord. Then you got a chance to be on this segment. So congrats to all the winners. We're looking to stay hot. As I always say, don't get too highs on your highs. Don't get too lows on your lows. DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports. Let's get it tonight. You don't get it tonight, you can always get it tomorrow. Good bankroll management, and you'll succeed. So head over to Run Pure Sports. Check it out. Hit that like button for us. Hit that big red subscribe button for us in the bottom right too. But let's get into the next game. The Washington Wizards, the Milwaukee Bucks, 228.5 total. The Bucks are favored by 9. Going to the injury report for the Bucks. Giannis is out. Middleton's out. Bembry's out. Giannis and Middleton, anytime they're out, going to have some interest in the other guys for the Bucks. First of all, we'll go to the Washington side. Kyle Kuzma is out. Vernon Carey, Bradley Beal, but Kuzma is the main one over there. like I said, without Giannis, without K-Mid, Drew Holiday, absolutely smash play. Bobby Portis, very good play. Brook Lopez comes back. They slide in the starting lineup. He played a pretty good amount of minutes. When he's in there, he loves chucking the three ball, can get some blocks and all that stuff too. There's Grayson Allen. I mean, the Bucks, there's a lot of pretty good plays for the Bucks. As far as the Washington side, I think Rui's interesting. I'm always a big Rui Hachimura guy. The injury, the minutes have been a concern, but he played 29 minutes yesterday, 25 the game before. If you tell me he gets 30 minutes at 4.5K, sign me up for that play. And I don't think the ownership will be too crazy. DC, I'll go back to you. Talk about the Bucks side. Obviously, we can't ignore that, but are you running it back with anybody on Washington?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hachimura is interesting. Obviously, Kuzma being out changes the complexion of Washington entirely. That by far their highest usage guy. We did see Porzingis get 32 minutes against Houston. I was kind of talking about his minutes had been kind of flukily low. Again, foul trouble, blowouts. But until we saw it, we weren't sure if they would even let him play beyond 30 minutes. So you only need to see it once, right? Or like, okay, there's no hard cap here on Porzingis at least. So I think he's interesting. I always talk about the Bucks. They allow a ton of above the break 3-point attempts. Porzingis can launch it from deep. I would assume that'll be a key component of the Wizards offense. So I do like him. 8,400 is expensive, but you saw the upside, what he can do against Houston. A big man who can bury 6 or 7 threes in a game if he gets hot can put up a huge score. So I still like Porzingis a little bit. Hachimura would be the other guy I would play. But yeah, I mean, I like, almost all the Memphis guys better than all of the Washington guys. And there's enough of them to choose from that I don't feel that like the ownership is going to be that crazy, at least, for a 5-game slate. Obviously it's going to be fairly high, but yeah, not in on Washington all that much other than Hachimura and Porzingis. And then the Bucks, Memphis situation, they lose Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks. They kind of see the usage, the production spread out a little bit. Milwaukee's pretty concentrated, right? It's the Drew Holiday show when these two guys go down. So I kind of like that, where it's like you can kind of play a lot of the cheap Memphis dudes. Drew Holiday, I mean, he's going to have a big game. It seems like almost a near certain 35% usage for Drew Holiday with Middleton and Giannis off the court, which frankly could go up because now he's starting with Brook Lopez instead of Bobby Portis. Maybe Portis starts tonight, actually, at the power forward. I'm not sure. But anyway, Drew Holiday, I think, is, to me, kind of probably the biggest lock of this slate. He'll be in all my lineups. I mean, are Neto and Ish Smith going to slow him down? I don't think so. So yeah, Drew Holiday. You can kind of mix and match, I think, the other Milwaukee guys, but I just don't feel that confident in Grayson Allen or Pat Connaughton or Brook Lopez. And I certainly don't want to play like a bunch of those guys in the same lineup. So if you're playing a lot of lineups, I would kind of mix and match those guys. I don't have a strong feeling about which one it's going to be, either minutes wise or production wise.
Yeah, makes some sense. I'll go to you, Mango. What are your thoughts on the Bucks? Obviously, Drew Holiday, one of the most chalky players on the slate. He's playing good ball, even with Giannis and Middleton too. So you gotta expect a big game tonight. But talk about the other ones, Mango. Bobby, Brook, Pat Con. The starting lineup will be interesting too. Are they going to go the Bobby Brook? Are they going to still keep Bobby off the bench because that's what his role is going to be in the playoffs and get different that way? That'll be interesting. But talk about the Bucks, Mango, and then are you going to run it back with anybody on Washington?
Yeah, I think Drew at 8K is like one of the best floor ceiling combos on the slate. Like him a ton. Really, really good option. One of the best spend ups here tonight. Bobby Portis at 6'5", definitely someone else that I'm looking to roster. Like him way more than Brook Lopez. I do worry about Brook Lopez's minutes a little bit, where like they're not just going to trot him out there for like 25 to 30 minutes. Like this is not a game that matters that much for sure. So I do think that he's someone I'm slightly concerned about. I do wonder if like Jordan Nwora gets more of a bump. This would be like more of like 150 MME kind of play. I know they have Pat Connaughton back, but I don't know. Maybe they don't start Wes Matthews in this game. I mean, it feels like kind of a meaningless game, or maybe he doesn't get that start.
War is the one that is just like Coach Bud does not like him because he just doesn't play defense. Like he's the one that has the shortest switch. If he does something wrong in defense, he's going to get yanked. We saw last game. He only got blowout run. He didn't play anything before that. He's the one that, I mean, man, if he plays, if you see him in the starting lineup, his ownership goes way up. He can score the ball and all that. But man, he's a little concerning because they got Pat Con, they got Wesley Matthews, they got Grayson. I don't know. It's yeah, like you said, 150. The floor is definitely pretty low, but he has a ceiling. So I'm with you. I don't know.
Yeah, here's like another guy, like Javon Carter. Like he may have been the guy that's kind of hurt Jordan Nwora.
For
like
sure.
We're like, again, we're talking like really deep tournament shots, right? Like I don't hate it. I mean, if they blow him out, like Carter's definitely going to close in that fourth quarter for sure. So there's definitely some guys that you can take some like real deep shots on. Not going to be in my lineup. I'm playing one team, and then I'm also going to do 20. I'm doing a 20 max. I don't know if I'll make the 20 for me, but not the craziest thing to do if you were kind of running some stacks. If you happen to fall on it, I don't think I'd say it was crazy. I do think the Wizard side is kind of crazy to roster. I'm out on mainly all those guys. The only one I kind of consider is Rui, just because of what his upside can be for the price. Don't hate it, but I really don't want to play too many of these guys. Like Denny's fine too. Like I wouldn't hate it, but I'm just not jamming in Wizards. I'm really focusing on Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis, and then kind of moving on from there. That's really where my focus is in this game.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think Rui's a fine run back, and I do like what DC said about Porzingis. I mean, the usage is always there. The double-double, he can pretty much walk into it. I mean, he can, like, if Brook Lopez on the pick and pop, Brook Lopez isn't stepping out to guard that three on Porzingis. So I think that is a sneaky call in a top-tier range. I mean, yeah, you could go Garland. You can go Siakam. We know the ownership's all going to Jokic up top. I think it's just another guy in that high AK, Tyrese, all that he has all the upside in the world. He finally crafted 30 minutes, which is the only big concern. Like, if you told me he plays 34 minutes today, sign me up. I'm playing Porzingis as my run back in a lot of tournament teams. But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. Again, these two games that we talk about, anytime Giannis and Middleton aren't playing, there's going to be interest on the Bucks side. I think Rui or Porzingis makes some sense as a run back too. Let's see. We got 400 watching, 166 likes. I'm going to say 205. 205 is the number for the plays of the day. We got 2 games left.
Throw a 5 spot on that 200. I like it.
Yeah, a little 5 extra piece. I mean, hey, we got college basketball show. We have this show. We have the Up to Lock show. We're working hard over here at Run Pure Sports. Those extra 5 likes, we'd take those for sure. So 205 for the plays of the day. I know you guys are going to get there for us. 2 games left. Hit that like button. Hit that big red subscribe button while you're at it. Next game on the slate, Chicago Bulls, New Orleans Pelicans. 224 total. Pelicans are favored by 3.5. Going to the Chicago side, DeMar DeRozan is out. Again, another big stud on this slate that's out. Lonzo Ball is still out, of course. Going to the Pelican side, Brandon Ingram is doubtful. And then we got Zion still out. Larry Nance is probable. So Brandon Ingram out or doubtful. DeMar DeRozan is out. Zach LaVine, I mean, he's a very good play at 7-7. I think he gets ownership in that mid-range for sure. Alex Caruso, 4-6, I think is interesting. There's Vooch at 7-9. I definitely think the Chicago side's better. As far as the Pelican side, maybe a Joval 8-2. Him and Vooch are going to body down low. He can walk into a double-double. Do you want to go with another contrarian, upper price guy? CJ McCollum maybe in a fast-paced game. Mangone, I'll head to you. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this game is definitely one that, you want to get some exposure to. The Bulls and Pelicans, not one to ignore. The Pelican side is not the more exciting side. We'll go through that quick. CJ McCollum at 9-1. I think he's like a contrarian spend-up option that you can go to. Not something I'm prioritizing, just like kind of like what you guys said with Porzingis. Valanciunas feel very similar. That's kind of my take on that. I do think Jackson Hayes at 5-2 could get some serious run. Pelicans like to play double bigs at times, and like at 5'2", there's definitely a ceiling there. Not someone I'm prioritizing. Again, like 5'2", he has the opportunity to get like 30 to 35 fantasy points. I would group away Hayes and Valanciunas, though. It seems like they are cutting into each other a little more than I would like. I do like the Bulls side, though. Let's start with Alex Caruso. Definitely a good, cheap shooting guard value play that you can go to. No DeMar DeRozan. That's going to be very helpful for these guys. I do want to get word on Patrick Williams' minutes limit, because no DeMar DeRozan is pretty good. I know the minutes limit was between 19 and 25. Is today the day that it turns into 25? Because if it is at 3.3K, I don't think you'd want to ignore that price tag. If it is still down where it's at 19, well, then that's going to help some other guys coming off the bench.
Let's say we don't have any confirmation on it. Is that worth it on a slate with this where we already have value?
It's probably not worth doing it. It'd be better on a slate where the value is more unknown. But the point I'm getting at is, let's say we don't know. We still think it's at 19. Like, some of these guys off the bench can really pop off, right? You could see Javonte Green slide to the 4 at times. And then who's going to be the guy at the 3? Is it going to be Zach LaVine at the 3? And then you put Kobe White in there to close at the 2? Is it Ayo? There's a lot of different ways it can go. My lean is that it's Ayo for the most part, unless Kobe White gets hot, because I think they're going to want him out there for his defense against a guy like CJ McCollum. Yes, they have Caruso also, but those guards definitely, like between Graham and McCollum, they're going to be the two guys that handle for the most part. So having two guys to defend them, I think makes a lot of sense, unless Kobe White's obviously shooting hot from downtown. So I think both those guys, between Ayo and White, I think they're very intriguing tournament options to get exposure to that could win you a tournament. Vucevic and Levine, though, they're two guys that I'm looking to get exposure to. Right now, Levine is getting more ownership than a Vucevic. I think that makes me want to play Vucevic more in tournaments because everyone is playing Jokic. And when you plug in, like let's say you plug in Vucevic at your center spot. Well, once you plug him in there, it's harder to get Jokic on your lineups because then he's only able to be rostered in one more position at the utility spot. Same thing on FanDuel. You have to make a decision. It's actually not the same thing. It's different. Where if you play Vucevic, then you can't even get Jokic, right? So I think at 6-9 on FanDuel, Vucevic versus Jokic is a huge decision point that you have to make in tournaments. And I really like the opportunity for Vucevic in tournaments. And I definitely talked myself into him as being like one of the better spend up contrarian plays on the slate for it being a 5-game slate. And I actually have the numbers, or I have the numbers up here on Vucevic against Valanciunas. Here are the last, let me go through like last, like, I don't know, like 2-3 years. You got last game wasn't great. He got 31 DK points, but 53, 46, 44. This is when it was with he was with the Magic though. 44, 59, 42, 48, 42. I don't know. Valanciunas is not a guy that I'm not scared of defensively. And it does feel like when these like Euro big men go up against each other, these stud ones, they kind of go off against each other, right? Sabonis, Valanciunas, Jokic, all these guys. So I think this is a really strong spot for a Vucevic as like a leverage tournament play.
And going always bringing the good stuff. I love to hear it. And that's that. Yeah. Joe Bell, I'm not scared of him down low, especially Vooch. He can do that pick and pop. A little pick and roll. He sits at the free throw line. He hits that shot over Joe Val. Joe Val can't move his feet too much. So I think that totally makes sense. And yeah, on FanDuel, the Jokic Vooch discussion is definitely a very tough one. I got it wrong last time when they played the Bucks because it was a blowout. Jokic absolutely went ham. It's definitely a very tough decision on this slate for sure. 15 more likes, fellas. We need 15 more. The last game, I'm not sure how long it's going to take. So trying to help you guys out. Hit the like button for us. DC, what do you see in this game?
Yeah, I like that. I like Bengon's takes. Vucevic usage goes way up when you take DeRozan off the court, and we really haven't. DeRozan hasn't missed many games, frankly, this year, so we haven't seen it all that often. And if I think people that just pull up Vucevic's game log, it's kind of a little bit uninspiring, but it makes sense that his usage goes down. DeRozan, one of the best mid-range scorers in the league, which is where Vucevic does a lot of his damage too, right? He's a lot of those kind of those mid-range jumpers that he's so good at. I think he can obviously get those off against Joe Val. He can step out behind the three-point line. Rebounding goes way up, right? DeRozan's been kind of a monster on the boards this year. And there's just not that many guys on the Bulls other than Levine and Vucevic who are high usage players. Like, Caruso, I think is a fine play today, but he's not going to, take 20 shots. It's going to be a lot of Levine, Vucevic.
If you look at it, Caruso's last 5 games, 13, 12, 14, 13, 18% usage rate.
Yeah.
He's not taking the ball.
That's just not how he plays. And it's not going to change just because you take DeRozan off the court. His usage is going to stay the same. It's all going to flow through Vucevic and Levine. I like pairing them together. I think they're going to be, even Caruso, really, really effective real life player, but he's not that great on the pick and roll. It's going to be the ball in Levine's hand for the most part. Working with Vucevic, that's going to be their scoring. I think you could see Levine assist Vucevic 5, 6, 7 times in this game. I think that's possible. So I like that pairing a lot. Not sure. I assume most people go to Levine, but I think Vucevic gets just as big of a bump. They're obviously close to the same price. And if you're pivoting from Jokic, I would want to try to play Vucevic because in that case, you have obviously the out where Jokic doesn't have a great game, but Vucevic could match or get close to matching Jokic, even if Jokic does have a big game, right? He could put up 55, 60 fantasy points at a cheaper price point and get you there that way too. So, I think that's a good way to go. Maybe even play together, right? You use your utility spot on Jokic and Vucevic, get a little bit unique that way as well. So that's Chicago side. Just give me the 2 studs, Vucevic and Levine. Pelicans, I just got the pass. There's just too many good guards for me to play McCollum. I can't play him over Holiday. Can't play him over Levine, Halliburton. I'll be hoping the Bulls play well and win this one. I'll be fading the Pelicans myself.
Yeah, one more thing to call out with DC's take on Levine and Vucevic. Like, I think sometimes people want to force in the run back, and I do it too, but I think like the Pelicans are not an ideal spot to force in that run back.
No, yeah.
I think I would just play both those Bulls and not force in don't force in one of those cheaper guys. And then like, don't even go to like a McCollum or like a Valanciunas, because you're going to like use a lot of your salary then at that point. I think you're going to miss out on like some of the better plays by doing that. So I think really not forcing the run back is a smart idea here.
Yeah, I think if I played anyone, it would be a CJ or a Joe Val, because I'm not playing this Val or the Pelicans like secondary pieces on a slate like this. But like Porzingis, I like better. We were talking about Siakam earlier, Garland. There's a lot, Tyrese. Like there's a lot of guys in the upper tier where I'll take those guys over these Pelicans guys too. So all three of us on the same page with that. Yes, people in chat letting me know Gary Trent is out. OG still a game time decision. It sounded like they were more doubtful than they were questionable. So I was kind of going based on the assumption that they are out. We got the Trent news, the first game on the slate. So we will get the OG news too. But another reason, join the Up to Lock show. The Tyrese news will break when they're on the Up to Lock show, I imagine. That's going to be a big talking point. It's AP, Glock, and Holden, I believe, today. 3-man booth taking you up to lock. Make sure you check that out. Head over to Run Peer Sports. Got to be a premium member for that show. College basketball stuff, the playbook, core plays, all that on the site as well. Tomorrow, MMA show, DC, myself, Keg, 2 p.m. Eastern. Shows every single day over here at Run Peer Sports. That's why you got to hit that big red subscribe button so you get alerts when we go live. You guys already got the likes for us. Knew you guys would. The number wasn't too hard. We appreciate it if you haven't hit it, if you hit it already. But last game on the slate, I don't think it'll take too long. Then we'll get into the plays of the day. The Phoenix Suns, the Denver Nuggets. What a good real-life basketball game this is going to be. 233 total. Denver is favored by 1. Going over to the injury report, and it's nice to see CP3 is back today. And then outside of that, Frank Kaminsky, Saric are still out. Cam Johnson is still doubtful. Going to the Denver side, Zeke Naji is out. Other than that, the same MPJ, Jamal Murray stuff is out. Jokic, we have talked about it a lot. Giannis is hurt. We got Brandon Ingram, DeRozan, 11.4K. We've been seeing him at 12.4, 12.6, etc. Good game. It should be close. Jokic is a very good spend. No one needs to talk you into that. Outside of that, like Will Barton, Monte Morris, something like that. As far as the Phoenix side, Mangone, this is interesting. I'm going to go to you in this game. Chris Paul, 7.5 on DK, 6.5 on FanDuel. I like what FanDuel did. That 6.5 price tag. We haven't heard too much about the minutes, or if we have, I missed it. Talk about what you're doing on this Sun side, and then talk about Denver.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on playing Chris Paul really today. I thought the 7.5 price tag on DK, like it was appealing, but when you looked at the slate, then it wasn't appealing, but just like the tag alone, kind of appealing.
Then FanDuel gets you good.
It is pretty good. I mean, if I told you Chris Paul was 6.5 on DK, your ears would definitely be like perked up, and you'd be trying to consider him for sure on your lineup. So I'm definitely intrigued by a Chris Paul for sure. I'm definitely going to consider him, especially with like, again, I'm considering a Jokic fade pretty hard. And like on a site like FanDuel, when you kind of play a Vucevic instead of a Jokic, well, now I don't have spend up. So I do need mid-tier options. So maybe a Chris Paul makes sense as a really good mid-tier option on a site like FanDuel. I do think though, overall, Jokic, if I just only, like there's so much value on this slate where if I just only fade Jokic, and yes, I get it. He can be like the top raw point scoring guy and just be on the winning lineup. But if I just fade him, I'm just unique from there. And then I can kind of move on. I think a lot of the news that's coming will affect that as well. Because like if a Halliburton sits, well, now we just have so much value where again, it gets harder to then fade a Jokic. That's why I want Halliburton to be in. I think that would be valuable. So currently trying to fade Jokic in tournaments. That is my plan. And I'm kind of planning to fade this entire game in general. I just don't see anything I love. I think I'm just going to, unless it's in like, you know, some of my GVP stuff, maybe like one of these guys slips in, but I'm trying my best not to get exposure to this game and get exposure to the other ones. We can't play every single game. You know, I talked about some stuff I didn't like. I talked about some stuff that I really like. This is a game that I'm just trying my best to fade. If Jokic slides into my team because it's like the raw point thing to do, you know, don't come at me. It's definitely possible I could get on him just because he's the only spend up, but I'm trying my best to make it not happen. And that's something I'm going to tinker with as we get more news here coming up.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. If you're going to fade Jokic, I think just fading this whole game, if you want off a Will Barton or Monte Morris or something like that, I think it's fine. But if you're fading Jokic, you just hope the game whether it's a snail pace, everyone's missing shots, whether it's a blowout, something like that. I think you just fade that. The first game on the slate, the Raptors game, and this game on the slate, the last one, are definitely, at least in my opinion, the least interesting games of the 5 on the slate. So I'm with you. DC can always play Jokic, of course. What are your thoughts on that in tournaments, and then anything else in this game?
Yeah, not a ton more to add. Jokic, if he fits your lineup, by all means. I don't think starting the day, I kind of thought he might end up a must play, but now there's just kind of value. Like the Memphis mid-range guys are all good. Zach LaVine and Vucevic in the mid-range are good. Jaren Jackson,
Drew Holiday,
Halliburton, Hield. There are a bunch of guys in that kind of 5 to 8K range that I really do like, and you can fill up your lineup with those guys if you want. You're going to end up fading some of the right. You're going to see a lot of Jokic, Justin Anderson builds, but I think Melton and Vucevic could easily outscore those two guys. So I do like that from a contrarian standpoint. It's probably the route I'll end up going myself. Chris Paul, Cameron Payne has played so well in his absence that I don't think Payne's role is really going to go away. They have no need to force Chris Paul into big minutes his first game back. They're hesitant with his minutes anyway. Playoffs coming up. A fine play if you want to roll the dice, but I would be a little bit surprised myself if he came back and played big minutes this first game.
Yep, definitely makes sense. That last game, and not as much ownership besides outside of Jokic. But yeah, we talked about when you have the Memphis value, when Giannis is out, all this DeRozan, Ingram, you don't need to get too cute and play. If you have like 3 sub 10% guys in your lineup today, you're probably doing something wrong, in my opinion. You don't need that on a slate like this. But that was all 5 games. Pretty good slate. I enjoyed talking through it. I think we gave you some nice different options. It gave you some chalk. You got to play some chalk on this slate. But that was all 5 games. Looking at the likes, you guys smashed it. 222 likes. Getting the plays of the day. Hit the like if you haven't already. Hit that big red subscribe button. We appreciate it for sure. But getting into the plays of the day, I'm going to go with myself first because I knew who it was going to be before I even got on the show, which is one of the rare times that's the case. It's not a 5%er, but it doesn't look like he's going to be too chalky on a team that's going to be chalking the Memphis Grizzlies. Desmond Bane at 7-1 on DK, 7-5 on FanDuel. He's just a hooper. I really like this guy's game. Absolutely strokes it from behind the line, can play defense. All around, this dude's a stud. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. I think Desmond Bane at 7-1, while everyone plays Tyus. You can name top to bottom all the other Memphis guys. He's going to be owned a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough, and he's got 50-plus point upside. So give me Desmond Bane as the SO play of the day. DC, I'll head over to you, the mom's basement play of the day. Who do you got?
Yeah, we'll go back to Chicago. Nikola Vucevic, I think he's going to have a big game against the Pelicans with DeRozan out. Should play big minutes, obviously going up against Valanciunas. I think the matchup looks good for him, and I think maybe he's not going to be unowned, but maybe he'll slide just a little bit under the radar because, he's been a little bit underwhelming for the most part this season, and the recent game log doesn't look great. I don't think he's projecting that high. And I think he's got a chance to get close, probably not match Jokic, but get close enough where you can maybe survive a big Jokic game anyway. So Nikola Vucevic, mom's basement.
I love it. Man, go and the sweet Travis play of the day. Cap it off for us.
Yeah, so I was going to go with Vucevic, but I had a feeling. I said, I think DC is going to do it too. So I said, I'm going to have one in the chamber ready just to make sure.
So your play. My bad.
I got one in the chamber.
I went to DC first. That's good because I don't know if DC had an extra one like you did, Mango. And I knew you were prepared.
No, I got it ready to go. And this is a unique way to go. And it also goes with like the whole Jokic fade idea because I'm giving you a center. So that way, like you can't play 3. So if you do play a lineup with all 3 of our guys, you're not getting Jokic on it. I'll tell you that right now. And that's because I'm going with Steven Adams.
Yes, that was my second choice. Let's hit tonight, Mango. Let's go.
Yeah. You love to see it. So let's get Steven Adams in there. Another thing to mention, and another reason I picked it was it ties in with some narratives. I don't know if you guys know this, but if Tyrese Halliburton sits, it's Dwayne Washington's birthday. It's also Miles Turner's birthday. And tomorrow is TJ McConnell's birthday. So we got a big Pacers birthday party tonight to attend. So these guys are going to let Steven Adams feast on the boards because they are worried about feasting at the birthday party tonight. So I really like Steven Adams, though. We just attack Indiana big. So I'm going with him as my play of the day.
This is a narrative street I have never traveled down myself. Playing players on one team because the opposing team has birthdays. That's a good one.
Hey, they got the club reservations that night that they're already looking past this game. Man, Gone's got it all figured out. I love it.
Maybe they're gonna have their own Run Pure sports party and drink some high noons. We'll see.
Hey, as long as Lampkin's there next year after he ships for us. I mean, that was a cool thing about Lampkin. But yeah, so we got Steven Adams, we got Vooch, we got Desmond Bain as the 3 plays of the day. We appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. Colin, Anchor, OG, Kearney, Josh, PJ. Thanks for all hanging out. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that big red subscribe button. Head over to Run Pure Sports. We got Up to Lock, AP, Glock, Holden, breaking it all down for you. Waiting for this Tyrese news, waiting for this OG news. And it's the NBA in March, so who knows what else pops up. But that's going to do it for us. We appreciate you all hanging out. Hope you guys have a great Thursday. 4-man going, DC, Simon behind the sticks. I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.